question back to retroactive public goods funding toolkit. So there was this kind of first attempt at it, or this first prototype that I built out on top of Viraz's work. The contract has had help from Carl, but it's like in terms of things like you said, high leverage earlier, in terms of things that we think are high leverage, like now and then we get to be on a call with like Carl and Vitalik and ask them what they want, and then they tell us some things, and it's like that's super high leverage for me. And one of those things is this idea of this retroactive public goods funding kit, where anyone can deploy an NFT. They raise a small amount of funding on a curve like we did with Moonshot bots. Usually that goes to building some product. And then if that product ends up being awesome, and then other people want to retroactively fund it, the way the NFT contract is set up is you just send some ETH into it, and it raises the floor artificially by letting people redeem. So there's this handy little mechanism in the contract that lets people raise the price floor of an NFT. And that's one of the kits. And we have another kit that's like an ERC20 kit. But I think the biggest, most important thing right now is taking that kit that is sort of this kind of like ugly repo that we prototyped together and turning it into something where someone can go to a front end and say, I would like the parameters of the curve to, I would like to, start at 0.01 ETH, end at 1 ETH, sell 1,000 of them. Here's my metadata. Here's the NFT data, and then hit a button and deploy the contract, and then hit another button or something and deploy the site, or get a static site that they can deploy or something like that. So taking the kit from Austin can deploy it from GitHub to anyone can pull it down and like click a couple buttons to deploy it. And I think Bliss is working on that right now. Again, we're kind of in product manager limbo right now. We can talk more about that if you want, but I think Bliss is looking at this. But there's also like Kevin posted the link here. We probably have a link to a Telegram where there's probably a handful of people also working on something similar. So there's probably a couple different threads of this going at once. But it kind of starts around that link that I posted in here, and then I'm looking for Bliss to lead the way from here, I think. And Viraz is looking at the ERC20 version. Any questions?
Is there a way to try that out or play around with that now, or is there just the repo?
The repo's there, and really there's a video with the repo that says like, pull down the repo, change this variable, hit this button to deploy. So it works now, but like it could be a lot better. And I think Bliss is on that, and I think he's on the call, but Bliss would be the guy to ask that question to, I think.
Cool. The mechanism sounds rad. I mean there have been all these projects like there was like Goop DAO, which was selling a derivative NFT of nouns in order to actually buy one of the original nouns. So I think this idea of being able to pool capital via NFTs is there's something there, and it's great to see more iterations on the model.
I just wanted to sort of like, it took me a couple times learning about retroactive public goods to get this vision in my mind, and I want to just try to distill it down for everyone. Imagine a world in which public goods were as well funded as startups raising VC. Like, how fucking good would it be if like would it be if like people could raise money for their project that was going to fight climate change, and they didn't have to have a business model other than fighting climate change? Or how good would it be if you could start a journalistic enterprise and not have to worry about selling out to fucking advertisers and just create journalism and get paid for that? So the whole idea with retroactive public goods is to start to distribute to projects that are creating public good and create like venture scale returns for them. And then basically the big idea there is that like people will come in and start funding public goods at the seed stage in order to get a scale like that retroactive public goods allocation, like huge fucking end game that Ethereum could and we could be a part of if we can shift those incentives. And I'm here for it. Like we already built a tool that Optimism is using called quadraticvote.co to make easy quadratic votes, and now we're building a token allocation system so that public goods tools can tokenize as they come out early. Like there's a lot of pieces coming together to help support that end game, and I think that the Moonshot Collective can play a part of that. It's really exciting to me. Austin, if people want to get involved or help out, where can they do that?
There's got to be a Telegram channel somewhere, right? I don't know if we've actually created one. Like this has been
Yeah,
very
there's-
much like Varaz took it and ran with it. Then I took it and cleaned it up and launched it. And now Bliss is running with it. And it is kind of like, you know, a little bit more async and singular track. But I think there is, yep, there
Yeah,
Fund.Party.
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 It's a good domain. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Brent, do you want to articulate that question? Something about the usefulness of public goods?
Sure. Useful is actually, I noticed that when I reread what I wrote. Useful is not really the angle I'm looking for, more just a very simple validation of demands. Like Vitalik is obviously pretty validating, right, in the conversations that he's having. But I would love to see like more people articulating that pain point to get like a better understanding of it. I think Kevin also did a pretty good job of like of explaining it with imagine this, but like when striving for go to market and for product market fits, it's really nice to have a lot of the pre-demand before you even built it shown, and then shown how you solve that problem.
I can tell anecdotal stories, but I think we want more than that. Like
We want more than
anecdotally,
that, but sometimes that's all we get.
Yeah.
You know.
Anecdotally thinking about just like the GTC drop or the uni drop, some of
Okay.
those that are just like retroactively went to everyone, I took those and sold them, right? Like I use that money
There.
to pay devs, and I'm one person of a lot of other people. So I think instead of more of a YOLO drop, if that can be more concentrated on the right folks building the right things, and funding getting dropped retroactively is a lot easier. I think we're going to see a lot of just like, oh, like that person did something awesome. Now they have extra funds to move with. Now they can even hire a developer or something like that. So I think that like I am one of those kind of like anecdotal use cases of I
Yep.
struggled for years to get any funding at all, and then now I'm able to fund a bunch of developers thanks to these token drops.
Yeah, very cool. Like in anecdotal data, it's all about how you present the data. So like some of it may mean that we need to focus on case studies, right? To your point. But like, yeah, it's great. I think that answers my question.
All right, amazing. Can I get some snaps for Austin, everyone? Austin and the other builders on Fund.Party, of course.